National Webinar Series. The three-day National Webinar Series on Transforming Pedagogy, Scope and Opportunities in ESL ELT, organized by the Postgraduate Department of English, Sahrdaya College of Advanced Studies, Kodagara, Thrissur, Kerala, in collaboration with Cambridge University Press and Assessment, opened on 22nd May 2024 at 6:40 p.m. with inaugural session and followed by a technical session engaged by Professor Dr. Lal C.A., University of Kerala. 194 attendees benefited from this academic endeavor, a session on Dogma ELT. On day 2, 23rd May 2024, Ms. Ruji Tomer, consultant at Cambridge University Press and Assessment, delivered a talk on empowering future English educators, the vital role of certification and training. 145 attendees of day 2 of the webinar, I'm sure, are now exploring the avenues of certifications. Today, 24th May 2024, the third and final day of the webinar is underway. I invite Professor Dr. Sanlara J., Dean of Arts and Head PG Department of English, Sahrdaya College of Advanced Studies, Kerala, to introduce the resource person.
Hello. Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
I think Sanal sir has some connectivity issues. So let me take up the duty of introducing our resource person for the evening. Dr. A. Linda Primlin is Associate Professor of English at Scott Christian College Autonomous, Nagarkoil, Tamil Nadu. She has explored the works of Scott Fitzgerald for MPhil and Alice Munro and Ruth Pravar Jhabwala in her doctoral research. Dr. Primlin is an organizer par excellence and has served as resource person in seminars and conferences. Under her guidance, 26 candidates have been awarded MPhil degree, 5 doctoral degree, and presently she is research supervisor to 6 candidates in the areas of comparative literature and ELT. She is member in several academic and professional bodies. Very delightfully, Dr. A. Linda Primlin, I invite you to engage the technical session of the day 3 of our national webinar series. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, I thank God Almighty for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with you. In this context, I thank Dr. Sanal for inviting me. I thank the organizing committee, the coordinator, Associate Assistant Professor Sheena Sara, Joint Coordinator Assistant Professor Meti Jobi, Anu Jaya, and all the student coordinators. I take a minute to share my PPT, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am.
Is it visible, ma'am?
It is.
Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Today's topic, incorporating creative approaches into second language instruction. First, let me tell something about ELT, and English-related issues. English is a link language. Communicative competence is the need of the hour, and it's very much necessary to enhance communication among the second language learners. Students usually do not wish to follow the same model in the classroom. They want some kind of change in the classroom and hence creative approaches ought to be adopted. Creativity is the strongest voice in the new century. An English teacher should integrate creative approaches to make the classroom thrive with activity. Ingvason points out there are no shortcuts to educational improvements. And constants in teaching. I'm going to discuss 3 ways of constants. We know the teacher's personality. We know when the teacher comes, she takes some materials with her and she wants to understand whether the students have understood what she has taken. And also she wanted to show the ability to develop the lesson clearly, the teaching, the techniques for vital learning, and she wishes to have good students in the class. These are all fundamental factors in teaching, but they do not make the language classroom effective and interesting. But still, they cannot be ignored. Secondly, traditional practices. Traditional practices, the rehearsal of routine questions, reliance of textbooks, worksheets, presenting problem solving questions. Soon after the class, the teacher, she asked questions whether to make it clear. And all these cannot be ignored, the traditional practices. And thirdly, the contemporary practices. Contemporary practices such as cooperative group work, use of non-routine questions that promote mathematical thinking to develop problem-solving skills. These also cannot be ignored. So the first 3, the constants, we all know that as a teacher, as a student, we all know these 3 constants. Teacher's personality, traditional practices, contemporary practices, these cannot be ignored. But these constants in teaching have no direct inspirational concern for the students. They do maximum harm to the students. So creative approaches. Creativity is the development of human society. It makes changes in something already existing in the classroom. And a creative approach stimulates children's curiosity and imagination. Using imaginative approaches make learning more interesting and more effective. And to improve the existing teaching strategies, it is needed to reconsider the quality of the teacher, the teaching materials, the learners, as well as the environment. Advantages to stimulate creativity in students. Let's see some advantages. First, language is creative in its very nature. We can communicate one idea in different ways. In language, this is very important. That is, we can communicate one idea in different ways. It can provoke different reaction. Every word is created in a unique moment of communication. It can be recreated, reformulated, paraphrased, changed according to the goal of the speaker. Secondly, language classes are not limited by any specialized subject. Language teachers build their lessons on topics related to sports, law, philosophy, whatever it is, but their focus should be on language. So language classes are not at all limited by any specialized subject. Thirdly, language classes can easily engage students in creative situations. In creative situations, students have to produce one or more answers to a series of interconnected problems. And students do not know what steps can be used to solve a problem. They do not know whether there is one solution or a wide range of solutions, or if it has only one solution at all. And so language is creative in its very nature. The same idea can be communicated in different ways. Secondly, it is not limited by any specialized subject. The focus is on language. Any subject may be taken, but the focus is on language, and language classes can easily engage students in creative situations. And qualitative methods sometimes we may use in classrooms. The teachers may use these qualitative methods in classrooms, and students, they find it very effective. And that is a variety of qualitative methods such as event management, role plays, correction, incorporating literature, interpreting cartoons, telling stories from different perspectives, translation, and these ought to be employed in the classroom. If we employ these techniques, not all these techniques, at least one or two at 1 hour or so, if we employ these techniques, one could see development in the nature of the teacher as well as in the growth of the student. Though the teacher is the facilitator, effective changes in approaches, methods, techniques have not been adopted in the classroom. Hence, it is very much necessary to use appropriate creative methodology while teaching English. And next, digital tool for language learning. Digital tools supplement traditional language teaching methods. And language teaching approaches, interactive website, and language teaching software, virtual reality, augmented reality. Language teaching software, it provides students with interactive exercise, audio recordings, real-time feedback. These tools allow the learners to practice, reinforce their language skills independently, and also expand their exposure to authentic language use. Virtual reality, see augmented reality. These technologies have also started to find their way into language teaching, provides learner with experiences and virtual language environment. They hold great potential among the students. Students like these virtual reality, augmented reality very much. They hold great potential among the students, and this engages speaking and listening skills, creative interactive scenario that mirror real life situations. You could see in the picture virtual reality and augmented reality. And virtual reality, we can say, for example, headsets. It involve, you are very much involved in headsets, what is going on, and you do accordingly. And augmented reality, we can say that digital images onto your view, digital images that also involves you, that also you are very much involved. But one thing, making use of digital tools too much, it will lead to distraction. It is a very much disadvantage in the career of a student. And technology is a big, powerful way, can be put in use to achieve endless joy in classroom. Students, while using technology in classroom, they find it very, very happy, webinar webinars or their web courses or their online learning modules or they are very much used. There are so many positives in all these technology. Webinars, they offer cost-effective, time-scoring way, especially for a geographically dispersed team. Web courses could lead the participants through guiding, through exercise, driving discussion, answering question, concluding with endless points. Like that, online learning modules also help the learners to achieve tangible innovation in 30 minutes, provides maximum flexibility, develops creative skills. And Krashen's theory of second language acquisition. Krashen's theory of second language acquisition, it has influenced the development of integrated instruction in the classroom at all levels. He says language acquisition does not require extensive use of conscious grammar rules, does not require tedious drill. Acquisition requires meaningful interaction in the target language in which the speakers are concerned not with the form of their utterance, but with the message they are conveying and understanding. So language acquisition required meaningful interaction in the target language. And language teaching methodologies, these creative approaches, if we take it into our classroom, it will be very useful for the students and the learners. They find so many positives while using these teaching methodologies in the classroom. 10 approaches and methodologies I have taken here. And one thing, that is communicative language teaching, task-based language teaching, content-based cooperative language learning, direct method, grammar translation, audio lingualism, total physical response, the silent way. All these language teaching methodologies I have taken now. And it should be noted that none of these approaches is considered the best, since every language classroom, educator, student is different. None of these approaches is considered the best. In one book, Simone de Beauvoir, in her work, The Second Sex, she has written about the problems of women, the roles of women, and a lot of issues like that she has written in the book. And it's a very big book, lot of arguments it has. And she has written many roles of women as a working woman, independent woman, married woman, spinster. Like that, she has written so many roles of women. But finally, she gives suggestions how a woman can live in this world happily. All these things she has brought it out. But finally, she says, one word is there, completely. A woman cannot completely come out of the clutches. Like that, there are so many approaches, so many methods in language teaching, but it should be noted that none of these approaches is considered the best. The reason is every language classroom, educator and student is different. First, communicative language teaching. Communicative language teaching, a very good, one of the, a good method, I can say. It aims to put the students in a variety of real life situations so that they can learn how to use their language skills to communicate in the world. Educators, therefore, tend to focus on fluency of communication rather than accuracy. Nowadays, fluency is very important. Fluency, students, the learners, they give importance to fluency than accuracy. We all know that. And interactive and relevant classroom activities characterize this approach. Teachers are encouraged to provide students with as much opportunities as possible to improve communicative language. Secondly, task-based language teaching. Task-based language teaching focuses on the completion of a detailed task with interest and engages the learners. Learners use language skills. In order to complete the task, they need to read, listen, and conduct research. Third, content-based instructions. Two notions are there, context and content. Let me say one thing, that is, in one book, English language teaching, I find this instance. That is, Donna Brinton from the University of California says, when he was 11 years old, his family moved to Germany for a year. He had no knowledge of German. He attended a German school in Germany, and the medium of instruction is German. So headmistress designated him as a guest student because he does not know any German language. He knows only English. So the headmistress designated him as a guest student. Guest student here, it means he was allowed to audit classes and there is no need for him to do the homework or do any test. He's a guest student. Students will enjoy the situation. And certain subjects were very easy to follow for him. And that is, for example, mathematics. He could partially follow in the class when the teacher writes the problem on the board. He could understand it. In history, it's very much difficult. And after 3 months, he could find a change in the class. That is, while he was sitting in the biology class, the teacher drew a large circle on the board and filled in smaller darkened circles in the center, and followed by additional sketches and shows the outer circle, inner mass, all these things. So from he understands that the teacher is teaching cell division because he had studied cell division in the school in the US. He could apply his background knowledge here. And he decided Zell, Zelle. In German, he means that cell, Cell. And also he decided Kernzelle. I don't know how to pronounce this word in German. Kernzelle, it means nucleus. So he decided Zelle means cell and Kernzelle means nucleus. He realized that if he concentrated, he could figure out almost everything the teacher says. Unconsciously, he had started to acquire German, not in the traditional way, but in the subject matter classroom through content. Within a month, he understands most of the subject matter. In a year, he was relatively fluent in German. See, first, he is entering into Germany, a German school, the context and content. He's unconsciously he's getting the content and he's fluent with German in a year. And he realized that this experience is content-based instruction. First, examine the two notions, context and content. First, context. And take, for example, India versus Pakistan, the context. You ask the students to write about the contrast as well as the comparison between India and Pakistan in 1 hour. That is the context. And then center on the content of issues. Next, coming to content. And that is, what are the crimes, the traffic, the culture. You are going in detail, the content. Thus, the students study grammar within the context of issues. The students naturally study the context of issues. First, the teacher uses context of different two cities, US and Germany, on comparing and contrasting India versus Pakistan, comparing and contrasting. Second, all language activities revolve around the content. And first, it provides rich context for the classroom. Second, challenging language that provides foundation for successful language acquisition. Fourthly, cooperative language learning. Cooperative language learning, it forms part of a wider teaching approach, collaborative or communicative language teaching, seeks to make the maximum use of cooperative activities. For example, pair work involving in pairs, small group work. It is student approach to learning a language. In cooperative language learning classroom, all activities deliberately designed to maximize opportunities for social setup, social interaction. Students accomplish the task by interacting among themselves, by talking, working together, and nowadays we call it as teamwork. Teacher's role is of a facilitator and a participant in the learning task. Next, direct method. This is very important and good. Direct method, all teaching happens in the target language. It forces the learner to think and speak in that language. Learner does not use his native language in the classroom at all. He doesn't use the native language. And students work out key grammar concepts by practicing the language. The standard classroom techniques for this approach includes question answer, conversation, reading aloud, writing, student self-correction. Next, grammar translation. This prioritizes translation from the student's mother tongue into the target language and vice versa. This approach favors accuracy, and second importance is given to fluency. It favors accuracy, and only second importance is given to fluency. Tends to favor the development of reading and writing skills instead of speaking skills. Does not prepare student with spontaneous communication skills. Next, audiolingualism. This was developed in response to the problems associated with the grammar translation method. Here, the classes are usually held in the target language, as this approach deliberately seeks to prioritize speaking and listening skills. The activities involve student repeating the teacher's words until they get the pronunciation as well as the vocabulary right. Nowadays, if we have any doubt in pronouncing certain word, immediately we Google it and find the pronunciation. And like that, activities typically involved in students repeating the teacher's words until they get the pronunciation, vocabulary right. Good works are rewarded and mistakes are quickly corrected. Next, total physical response. Here, the teacher presents language objects as instruction, and the students have to do exactly what the teacher tells them. Students might be asked to sit down, stand up, come to the board like that. And the students, and when they find some kind of improvement in their in themselves, such instructions become more detailed. And next, the silent way. Silent way teaching without lecturing. Here, The teacher does not say much. This is the principle of this approach. It shifts the focus from the teacher's teaching to the student's learning. It uses silence as a teaching tool. It encourages the students to be more independent to discover the target language for themselves. Teachers need to employ the widest possible range of gestures, facial expression, etc. But one thing is very important here is make sure that you explain the whole process to the class in the beginning. Some 2 or 3 years back, I went to Malaysia for a conference in the University Putra, Malaysia. And there I met some of our students, Indian students. And when we were talking to the students, they were telling in the beginning of the year, the syllabus will be given to them. And what they have to, once in a while, the teacher and the student, they meet. Once in a month or so, they meet. And after getting the syllabus, they go to the library and they work. They work. All the instructions will be given to them by the teachers. They work. And finally, they have to face the exams. This is the way they are following in University Putra, Malaysia. And there is a rapport between the students as well and the teachers. So the teachers, they make sure the whole process to the classroom in the beginning of the year or beginning of the semester, that is silent way, teaching without lecturing. And some people, they get benefit in this method also. Finally, the natural approach. Natural approach highlights the difference between learning and acquiring a language. Learning a language requires textbooks, the structure, the syllabus, all those things, the resource, library, all those things. And you have to memorize the rules, grammar, vocabulary rules and all, the learning. And but acquiring a language needs teachers to create an environment. Teachers have to create an environment for to acquire the language. Lessons delivered using the natural approach focus on understanding message in foreign language. And finally, conclusion, teachers can increase students' overall enjoyment of that language. Encourage them to become lifelong learners, continuing their education long after they leave their room. Students can be creative when they are engaged in creative situations. They prefer that. They enjoy classroom activities. And we, the teachers, are responsible for that. Incorporating creative approaches in language learning help to develop not only their linguistic skills, but also their communicative cultural competence. Students gain confidence to engage in real life communication situations to enhance their language proficiency. And also, if teachers are very thorough with the portion that we are going to teach in the classroom, we would never offend the students in the classroom. We would never offend the feelings of the students. We would never get angry with the students and shout at them. And but it is the responsibility of the teacher to give importance to the students learning as well. Suggestions: permit freedom of movement in the classroom. And ask students to go to the board frequently. Encourage students to ask questions. Use praise lavishly but judiciously. If class work is put on display, make sure that each student in the class gets an opportunity to exhibit at one time or another. Give students a feeling of security. Do not embarrass them. If errors are to be corrected for the students, make it casually, softly. Give the students time to think, give time to answer the question. And if we do it, the students will also enjoy it and acquire language easily, the creative methodologies in a very easy way. Thank you. The questions, Pooran?
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for reflecting on different approaches and methods of teaching English and how an English teacher should be incorporating not just one, but maybe two or three, thus teaching English with an eclectic approach. Of course, the digital tools that could be used, you had mentioned those too. Thank you so much. It was indeed interesting, ma'am. Now the session is open for questions or queries. Participants are requested to put them up to ask the questions in the chat box. Meanwhile, please ensure filling the feedback form. The link will be soon posted on the chat box. Participants, if there are any questions, please type it out in the chat box. Ma'am, to begin with, can I ask a question? How can, yeah, since we have deliberated so much on an eclectic approach on creativity, how can a creative approach be used in a literature classroom in a higher education institution, ma'am?
Whatever it is, ma'am, in literature classroom, it's very easy for us to use some methods, some creative. Focus should be on language. Our focus should be on the improvement of language. That is, make the classroom effective. How to make the classroom effective? I told you in the beginning, that is some qualitative methods we can use it, role plays, corrections, giving some chance for the students to speak with their views, all those things, and that will help the students to come out with language, because fluency is very important nowadays than accuracy. And whatever mistake they do it, it's not on our part to offend the students. We have to encourage the students. And while teaching literature also, it's very easy to bring language in the classroom. What I do in the classroom is all these, so many methods, approaches, or there. What I do is communicative competency. I concentrate communicative competency, and the second one is a direct method. Direct method, using only they understand or not. Simplify our sentence. If we use high words, and the students, they find it very difficult to understand it, make it into a smaller sentence, the soon they will understand it. And at the same time, this is not my point today, and what I do is, at the same time I give importance to pronunciation. And if you even today, if I'm not very sure of the one particular words pronunciation, how to pronounce that particular word, what I do is immediately go to the dictionary and find how to pronounce it, and make sure to the students also, you have to pronounce it like this. So literature, we can bring language very easily, ma'am. Can you give
so
a few
and
students, and that is there is a question. Can you give a few methods to teach English? And that is basic grammar lessons. Basic grammar lessons, that also I told you, content-based instruction. Content-based instruction. We know that our context is one thing. That is, we are in one particular place, and content, the language, acquiring the language, and how to acquire the language. And we have to, the students also have some interest in learning the language. If the student does not have some any interest in the language, it's very difficult to go through the test. Teachers at the same time, they have to give importance to the slow learners. And I gave some suggestions for you in the final slide, and make the students to come to the front, ask questions, whether they are correct or wrong. Don't give importance to that. Stand, answer to the question. If it is wrong, you make it clear, mildly, softly. You tell the correct answer. That will improve the students. Anything,
Yeah,
ma'am?
there are more questions here. Um, Ma'am, in order to teach grammar and vocabulary, can we follow the inductive approach?
Uh, yes, we can. But with the help of dictionary, I don't suggest students to go for spoken English classes, grammar classes and all, because I took grammar classes in some spoken English centers. But in the centers, when I go for teaching also, I tell the students, don't come to class like this. That is, there is no use, and I'm paid very well if I go and teach grammar and spoken English in classes. What we have to do is, we have to do it. That is, so many options are there. Yesterday's lecture also, we find so many classes, so many books are available. Make use of it, and other resources are there. Make use of it. We can, and inductive method also you can make use of.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't think there are more questions up here. Right. So that brings us to the end of the session. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that was the end, the last question that was put up, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Please tell us 2-3 techniques for improving English. Yes. Ma'am, last question, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
Please tell us 2-3 techniques for improving English language speaking. That is English language reading books. What I do is I advise my students 3 things, ma'am. That is, read English Bible, read English newspaper, listen to English news. Read English Bible, your vocabulary will improve, and read English newspaper. Newspaper, whether you understand it or not, read English newspaper. In 3 months' time, you will be well versed with it. You cannot read your mother tongue newspaper. You will help to improve your English language speaking. And also you have to read aloud, at least 1 page we have to read aloud in English. And when you read aloud at least 1 page, what we have to do is, if any difficult word, underline it and refer to the dictionary, make sure of the meaning, how to pronounce these words, and all these help you to in improving your speaking skill.
Ma'am, we have one more question up. Thank you. In group activities, often it's seen the slow learners are passive participants. How can we encourage them?
As a teacher, we have when we group the people, when we make it into a group, it's better to make the slow learners in a different group. Nowadays, there is a point of lining the students, and that we can do. And if it is not possible, the intelligent students as well as the fast learners, slow learners, we have to put it in the same group. What we have to do is give importance to this. Make sure that the fast learners to keep quiet for some time and let the slow learners open their mouth, discuss. And if it is not, if we have other options, make the slow learners put in a different group, and that will help them to come out with their feelings, opinions, suggestions, and all.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. I don't think there are more questions up. Thank you so much for answering these questions so patiently. We move on, ma'am. Today we have come to the close of the 3-day webinar series on transforming pedagogy's scope and opportunities in ESL ELT. We had on day 1 Dr. Lal C.A., Professor, University of Kerala, on speaking on why Dogma ELT is still relevant in the age of AI, followed by Ms. Ruchi Tomar, consultant, Cambridge University Press and Assessment, speaking on empowering future English educators, the vital role of certifications and training. And today, day 3, we have amongst us the speaker, Dr. A. Linda Prumlin, who spoke on integrating creative approaches into second language instruction. All the 3 sessions indeed rekindled a new spirit in us and inspired the future English teachers in this group of August listeners. Let me now invite Ms. Afrina K.R., first-year MA English student, to formally pronounce a note of gratitude.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. As we draw to the close of this enlightening webinar, I have the privilege of delivering the vote of thanks on behalf of PG Department of English. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished resource person, Dr. A. Linda Prumlin, Associate Professor at Scott Christian College Autonomous, Nagakoil, Tamil Nadu. Dr. Prumlin, your insightful session on integrating creative approaches into second language instruction had been incredibly enriching. Your expertise and engaging presentation has provided us with valuable knowledge and innovative strategies that we can apply in our own teaching practices. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. I also extend my sincere thanks to Professor Dr. Sanal J. Head, PG Department of English, for introducing our esteemed resource person and setting the stage for today's webinar. Your support and leadership are greatly appreciated. I would like to thank all the delegates for actively engaging during the webinar. Your enthusiasm and commitment to learn make events like this truly worthwhile. A special thanks to Ms. Meti Jobi, Assistant Professor, for skillfully moderating the interaction section. Your guidance ensured a smooth and productive discussion, allowing participants to engage meaningfully with the topic. To our dedicated organizing team and technical support, with a special mention to Ms. Sheena Sarabini and Ms. Anu Jain, Assistant Professors, thank you for your hard work behind the scenes, ensuring the seamless execution for not only today's event, but along the whole webinar series. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed and are deeply appreciated. By this, our 3-day webinar series has come to an end. I, Efrina Kea, and I am Efrina Kea, and I'm happy that I was able to be a part of this journey. Once again, thank you all for the contribution in making this webinar series a success. We look forward to seeing you all at the future events. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma, for your loving words.
So thank you, Linda, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for giving this opportunity, ma'am. I thank Sanil, my classmate. Thank you, ma'am.